Pjae Stanley, and it's so great to see your beautiful faces, and it's so great to know that you are out watching on Facebook, and that we are a community together, whether you are here in person or whether you are watching online. Thank you so much. So we are a New Thought Spiritual Center, a New Thought Spiritual Center, and what that means is that we believe that God is all that there is, all that we need. It encompasses everything. We believe that God is all, and that we are individualized expressions of the one. And so because we are individualized expressions, we get to co-create our lives with God. And to me, that's very powerful, because there's no excuses. We can't point to, oh, it's their fault. Oh, it's they, them, the other guy. It's you and God all the time, 24/7. And to me, that is great news. That is great news. So it's ringing back just a little bit. Can we turn it down just a little? Yeah, thank you. The last prayer, well, yeah, it was about prayer. The last talk that I had was about prayer. And it's important that we understand as much, and we talk about prayer as much as we can, because we only have a few tools that we share with you. Prayer is the big one. Meditation is the other big one. Those two, where we talk to God and where we hear from God. And so prayer and meditation is really great. And then we do affirmations and denials, affirming who we are and saying no to what we are not, to those negative voices in our head. That's not true. Because if we are individualized expressions of the one, then we are perfect just where we are. And we're moving forward with whatever it is we make a demand on the universe for. The universe is abundant. That's what Emily, Katie, and all our other leaders tell us, and we know this to be true. The universe is abundant, but a demand must be made. A demand is a prayer. This is what I want in my life, and we try to get really clear about that. So when we're talking about prayer and whether prayer actually works, what is prayer about? And for me, and whatever we're up here talking about, whatever I'm talking about, this is what I know for sure from my experiences and my reading. If it doesn't resonate with you and your heart isn't true for you, and that's okay. That's okay. But it's going to be upon you to figure out what does resonate. Read, listen, hear, talk, discuss, and figure out what is it that you understand and know. But for me, prayer is about personal peace. So I don't feel chaotic about life, and I don't feel like everything that goes on outside in my family, everywhere else, keeps pulling me around and spinning me around. I get to pray and ask this question: what is mine to do? What is mine to do? And once I know what that is, and I take action on that, I'm at peace. And so prayer helps me to get to personal peace about whatever it is that you're praying for. It's a powerful thing to know. So that's what we discussed, that and how prayer works and all of that. And you can listen to the talk from last week to get more details about that. But this week we're going to talk about family, because family is family. Family is family. And family is very important. And we talk and we joke, and a lot of our work comes out of what we're dealing with family. But I want to say that family, I know what's on your mind, even yours. But family is important to us because they start the whole ball rolling. At the very beginning of our lives, they are there. They are there, and we get a sense of belonging. We belong somewhere when we're with family, okay? We have this sense of community. We belong to this community family, however it stretches out. We belong to this community of family. We learn some concepts of loyalty because we help one another. We're true to one another. I remember my mom and dad, even me talking about, well, I can talk about them because my family, but you don't get to talk about them, right? I can say what I want to, my brother, but I wish you would. So we learn about loyalty, and we're supported by them from the moment we're born. And whether it is your family of origin, whether you were adopted, whether you've taken on a whole other family, whatever your family looks like, there are important aspects of our family that I want to talk about today. And one of the things that we get to do, how you feel about your family, is a matter of perspective. Perspective. And you think about it, and I'll go into that in a moment, but everyone does not have the perfect family, right? Because, why? Because the perfect family is a matter of your perspective. It's a matter of your perspective. And you could look at someone else's family from the outside and go, that's a perfect family. I wish I was part of that family. But I'll tell you what, you get into the middle of it, probably not so much. Probably not so much, because it's a matter of what it is that you need, what it is that your personality, your heart, whatever it is that you are going to need. And I know that for me, as I'm looking at the family that I was raised with, my parents, grandparents, and all that, and then my children, what I thought, what I still think is my number one job as a parent is to make sure they stay alive. I mean, right? Because your kids are trying to crawl off the edge, they're trying to stick stuff in electricity, they're trying to die. so my number one job is, well, hello, keep them alive. That's number one. And number two is to make them productive members of society. Productive members of society, because they hopefully will leave my nest at some point and move forward into their own and be a part of the larger community, and so make them be productive. Now, that's what I think that my role is. But now, if you think about what the kids' perspective is about what my job is, job one, from my kids' perspective, is that we are the makers of stupid rules. Right? We are. Parents just make stupid rules. They don't understand why they have to deal with them. And number two, my biggest job is, as far as they are concerned, is keeping kids from having fun. Yeah, my job is to make sure that my kids don't have any fun. So we had a really nice little gathering at my son's house up in Denton last night. He had the housewarming. They've been here for about a year, and they finally got everything pretty much together. Got the pool going. So we had the whole family and friends and everybody over. And some of the cousins didn't actually know each other. So the cousins were just having a great time, just jumping in and out of the pool, just splashing, water guns, and just having a great time. So the one cousin who's never met them, she lives in Dallas. And so her grandmother and her aunt came over from Dallas to, so they were one of the first ones to go. And her name is, we call her Navi. Her name is Navi. We call her Navi. And Navi's like, I don't want to go. I want to stay here and play with my cousins. Can't you take grandma home and come back and get me? Right? That was a reasonable request for her. Right? What is the problem? Just take her home. I'm not ready to go home, so take her home. Mom said, we're not doing that. All right? So that's the parents not letting her have any fun. Then she had another idea. She goes, okay, well, why don't I just spend the night? Okay, so you're just inviting yourself over to somebody else's house. That's not working either. You don't have clothes. No, you're getting in the car. So there you go. So her perspective, right? So it's a matter of perspective. What we're trying to do now, what I'm talking about now, is now have a grown-up perspective about what was really going on. And we get to look back. I think one of our greatest ways in which we grow more is to look back and say, when something, and we get to look back when something happens, when we're challenged by something. And we get to look back and go, where did that come from? Why do I believe that? Why is that something that what is that all about? And so we get to look back on how it was we were raised, what are the things that we decided were great. I remember, I told you guys this before, that because my parents, my father was in the military, and so we traveled around a great deal. I loved it. And my assumption was all of the siblings loved it. So that was my perspective. We traveled around, had a great time. No, so when I was 40, I'm telling that same story once again. We traveled around, we had a great time. And my young sister said, I'm going to have to stop you. I'm sick of you telling that story. That is not my story. I hated it. I always had to learn new people. I couldn't keep up with my friends. And so that's her perspective in the same family where I thought it was wonderful. Do you see what I mean? So everybody has a different perspective, but you get to decide and change your perspective if it's not working for you. And we understand that perspective isn't working when we are challenged. So here's what I mean by a challenge. So I'm teaching a class. I'm not going to mention what class it is because many of you know what it is, but I'm teaching a class at TCC. Well, apparently there was some sort of problem prior to me taking this class, which I was completely unaware of. I was just called and asked, can you do this class? And I've never, okay. Because there's so many people saying, we just take the class, take the class, take the class. Fine, I'll teach the class. So I'm there in the class, and this past week, and someone shows up. And I'm thinking, okay, oh, new person. Okay, great, no problem. We're 4 or 5 weeks into it, but I don't care. Come on in. And so I said, do you need some information? And no, I'm just, okay. And I knew who it was. I mean, I've seen him before. I said, oh, okay, well, you're just kind of listening, just want to see what's going on. Okay, great. So he's there for the whole class, not involved, not doing anything, just sitting there like a lump. Okay. At the end of the class, so I have a teacher's aide in there. So she and I were talking. We had a meeting afterwards. So we were trying to have our meeting, and he comes over, and he said, I am a professional at this, whatever the class was. I'm a professional at this. Well, what is the implication? Are you saying that? And I didn't ask him that. Just, you know what I mean? Just in my head, I'm just thinking, what are you implying? That I'm not a professional? So, heckles up. No, right, heckles up. So I'm beginning to defend myself. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I have this, that. I gave him all my little credentials and stuff. And then I started thinking to myself, why are you defending yourself? What does it matter what this person thinks? And that is a part of the growing up thing, my perspective of having to, and I'm not gonna, I mean, just as a woman, in a very male-dominated, in the military, all of my jobs, I was a police officer, all of my peace officer, all of my jobs, a mechanic at Continental Airline, were male-dominated. So it's constantly defending yourself, saying why I'm qualified to do not only this job, but this job about 100% better than you can do it, for me to get the damn job. Hello? You know what I mean? Right. So I just thought, I just wanted to stop that. And I just said, okay, well, thank you, and you're welcome anytime, and I'll talk to you later. But it just made me think, this is what I'm saying. When you are, well, I'm just going to say, for lack of a word, aggravated. When something comes up, some situation makes you go, and you start to do something that you know is not who you want to be right now. You get to look at that and go, what in the world is going on here? Where is it from? Why does it matter? Why does it matter? And in fact, it didn't matter. It was actually an auto response. It was an automated response from another time. It's not who I am. It is not who I wish to be. And as soon as I just realized, what are you doing? Stop that. Yeah, you're right. Stop that. That's not who I am right now. So that's the power of what we have. That is the power of looking back and looking at our perspectives and saying, what is this about? So when we talk about family, because there's some automatic things. And so before I went to the family party yesterday, I was feeling a little sorry for myself. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm feeling sorry for myself. You know how it is when you're kind of tired, and it's oh pity me, and oh, poor Pjae. And so, so I'm the one that I call everybody up. I call everybody, and how you doing? What's going on? I give them a little text, whatnot. I'm not hearing from anybody. Like nobody's even returning my calls. I'm like, what? So I don't even matter to anyone? I don't even matter. It's sad stuff. And so then I think I shared it with you guys like a couple weeks ago when I had gone to the retreat, and I'd taken this beautiful bag from my niece. I borrowed it. I hadn't taken it. I wasn't going to steal it. I borrowed it from her. So anyway, so she texted me. She said yesterday morning. She said, "Hey, Auntie, I need you to return the bag. I need you because I need you to return the bag." I said, and so I texted her back. I said, "What bag?" But then I thought we had this thing where we kind of tease each other, because I teased her when I took it, and when we talked about it. And she said something back, and she said, I can't remember what she said back, and she said, the Korean and pink bag that I let you borrow last week, and I just wrote, sorry, and I put a little question mark. Yeah. So she wrote back and she goes, I know you're kidding. I know you're but I'm not in the headspace for this. Can you please bring my bag? And so I just put a little heart there and just said, okay, fine. But it bothered me because she and I, that's the relationship that we have. That we just tease and whatnot. So she can tease me all day long. This is my headspace. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying this is what my headspace was. So so you could tease me, but when I just give you a little bit back, you so But I realized, I'm feeling sorry for myself. This is not the true perspective. This is a perspective of someone who's tired and feeling sorry for herself. The truth is, my family, when I got to the thing, my daughter-in-law said, oh, because she's one of the ones who didn't call me back, because I wanted to ask her if I could help her. She never called me back, and she always returns calls to people because she's a very good business person. Never called me back. Oh, okay, fine. But she said, hey, I was thinking about you, and I bought this, I know you travel a whole bunch, and I bought this wonderful bag for you, blah, blah. So she gave me this, and then my other little niece said, oh, hey, I was thinking about you, and I found this little leopard cup. So, I mean, right, so people are thinking about it, and that is the truth. I knew that. So sometimes our perspective is simply where we are. Is it the real perspective? Not really. Not all the time. So we get to look at all of those things and say because all we can do is change our attitude, right? Our thinking, our attitude about whatever it is, friends, family, whatever. And one of the best ways to do that is to be grateful. Now, what do you have to be grateful about? I don't really know, right? But when it comes to your family, I don't really know. When I look back at my family, I know what my parents did. They took us out of Texas in the 50s. So we didn't have to deal with all of the South. We didn't have to deal with all of the discrimination that most of my cousins had to deal with. They gave us a bigger view of the world by traveling. Everything wasn't just here in Texas, in Waco. It was a bigger perspective, right? So they did that for us. I know that they had unexpressed expectations of us. They didn't say, hey, you're going to be this, that, the other thing, but they just said, no, you can do it. No. You know what I mean? They just didn't take whatever we were trying to say, well, I can't do that. Sure you can. You know why? Because my maiden name is Powell, because you're a Powell, and we get to do this. We're smart enough, and you can do that. That's it. I'm not going to do it. So and I understand now that I lived up to the expectation. I lived up to it. I think kids do that. I think people do that. We get to live up to the expectations. That's what they did for me. And my mother was highly spiritual. Highly spiritual. I shared this with you before. She knew Jesus like she knew the back of her hand. She called on Jesus all the time. All the time. And whenever we were acting crazy or, just getting on her nerves, she was just going, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Don't let me kill my kids. Please, don't let me kill my kids. So I know, so I know that she knew Jesus personally, and I thank her for that. I'm probably alive today because of that. So I mean, I don't know, and I'm telling some funny stories, but it is true that there is always something good. And whether or not, my mother was not raised by her mother. Her mother gave her away. And yet she was the most loving mother ever. So whatever that story is, and everybody has a story, whether she was reparenting herself through us, we were filled with love. So even though she was raised without it, she knew God at an early age, and she knew what love looked like. And she shared that with us. So whatever your circumstances are, whatever you can look back and go, oh, my family, my whatever it is. Okay, but the thing that you're thinking about, what's in it for you? What's the lesson for you? What's the learning for you? We're reading a book right now called Maisie Dobbs. It's a really good book. It's great. I'm not going to even get into what it's all about. But there is the protagonist, which is Maisie, and then she has a mentor, Maurice. And she's very bright, and she's becoming a detective. She's kind of going with what her heart tells her. Oh, I know what you're saying, but this doesn't feel right. There's something not there. And what he told her was, you're probably right. So you go with you follow the path, you figure out the information, you get the knowledge. But also, whatever it is that's resonating right there for you, whatever you are feeling, there's something there for you. So also figure out, why is this attracting you? What are you needing to learn? What are you needing to learn? So whatever it is that's bothering you, that's aggravating you, that is upsetting you, that's fine. Figure out what that is, pray about it, all of that. But the deeper thing is, why? What is there for you to learn about you? Because it all begins and ends with you. We are individualized expressions of the one. We get to co-create whatever life we want. And our manifestations, the things that we see in our life, come right from our thoughts. We say in this thinking, in this spirituality, thoughts are things. Meaning that whatever we're thinking about all day long, not our random thoughts, but whatever we're thinking about, the law of attraction is pulling that into our lives. If you're thinking you can't, the universe agrees and is pulling everything into your life to agree with you that you can't. If you say you... Zero exceptions. So if you're pulling things into your life that you don't want, you got to think about that. What do you believe about that? What do you believe about that? We talked about it last week. What's the underlying prayer? There's the prayer, but what's really going on? And figure that out. All right. So these are. I mean, this is some. Could be some deep thoughts. What I know about family is that they are our original group that helped us to ask questions about why is this, what is this, and they are the ones that create what I call the fogs in our life, effing opportunities for growth. They're the original foggers, okay? And there's so many opportunities for growth, and the growth is about you, about where you want to go. To me, it's powerful when you know and when you understand that you don't have to be where you are if you don't want to. If you do, great, be there, it's great. If you don't, just think about it. What's there for you to know? What is there? And I could tell you this, a useless question in a spiritual realm is why. Why is this happening? It's a useless question. It is. It is. So the next question is what? What's next? What's for me to know? What is mine to do? That's a better question if you want to move from that place to this. We are individualized expressions. We know and we understand how to have the great life that we're looking for. So go forth, children, and have it. Love you.